Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Backtrekking, the podcast where we look back at the real-world inspirations behind classic episodes of Star Trek. I'm one of your hosts, Caliban, and today's hot keyword is zombie, and I'm joined on this episode by my co-host.
I'm Gooey Fame, and I'm hiding in the bathroom.
We've returned to explore the stories behind your favorite Trek shows, and today we're taking a dive into the spooky and scary by looking at a film and a Star Trek Enterprise episode that runs smack dab into a big old mess of zombies. It's the 2016 Korean blockbuster Train to Busan and the third season Enterprise episode, Impulse.
Yeah, good, a fun double feature, I guess, for the season.
Yeah, for the spooky season.
Yes.
Which, just by the vagaries of the way that we kind of set up and record and the way the show comes out, we only have one shot at doing a Halloween episode, more or less. So this is it.
Yeah. This was fitting. I mean, it was just a good movie to kick back and watch.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't know, zombies never really go away. They get hot and cold, I think. And it's interesting to see how, America, like Hollywood, picks up zombies and what they do with them. And then that kind of bleeds out, into international cinema as well. And this is a really great example of, Korean filmmakers in this case picking up zombies and going, well, what would we do with that? Like, what's a Korean zombie movie look like? And,
yeah.
And it's a great example of one, but we will talk about it in a little bit. First, usually talk about the news at this point in the show. There's really only one news story that really matters right now, and that's the fact that William Shatner has gone to space.
He did that? Did that happen, when? When is that happening?
It basically just happened.
Oh, it's not really space, though, right? From what I've heard.
It's that thing where they go to 68.5 miles or whatever wherever space starts. But yeah, they had to put it off a day, but it happened just today.
Oh, okay.
When we're recording this.
Yeah, whatever. I hate all this stuff.
It's fun. He had an 11-minute trip into space on Blue Origin. That's the Bezos company rockets. And he upon coming back, he was kind of emotional. And he talked about his experiences. And the kind of things that he said are similar to what a lot of people say when they go to space. It's actually something called the overview effect that astronauts have described, where you go into space and you see Earth for the first time, from space in its totality, and you separate from it, and you have this feeling of connectedness, and a feeling of being overwhelmed, and that, this is all we have, like Earth is it. And usually that's supposed to change your behavior for the positive and make you more circumspect about the future of humanity. People were hoping that would happen to Jeff Bezos the first time he went into space. Instead, he came back and put on a cowboy hat and said, we should move all of our trash into space. So it didn't work on him.
No, I think that's something that could actually happen to Shatner. He seems like he could mellow out from it.
Yes.
He's a famously unmellow guy, but Bezos, there's no way. I feel like
he came back and said, I'd like to put George Takei into space. Yeah.
I think there's something with him where no amount of attack on his psyche could ever alter it,
Yeah, there is a passage in, I believe it's it could be the third book. I'm going to guess the second. I think I'm probably wrong though. The Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams, where the character Zaphod Beeblebrox, who is a charismatic, egotistical character who's the former president of the galaxy, he is put into a machine that its job is to show you how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things. It basically, it shows you a map of the universe, of the multiverse in all of its forms and all the atoms and nebulae and everything, and then a tiny microscopic dot on a dot on a dot on a dot on a dot. That's, you are here. This is you. And it's supposed to destroy the mind with that realization. And when Zaphod steps out, he's like, it turns out I am pretty important. So that's kind of how I feel like the egos of Bezos and Shatner would react to this experience. That being said, though, he did say after landing today, he said, "I'm overwhelmed. I had no idea. We were talking earlier. Yeah, it's going to be different. Whatever that phrase is that you have a different view of things." He doesn't know what that phrase is. He doesn't begin to explain, to describe what it was for me. And it would be so important, he said, for everyone to have that experience through one means or another. And then he said, and this is the twist, maybe you could put it on 3D and wear the goggles to have that experience, he suggested to Jeff Bezos. So a new industry for Bezos to take over, 3D VR.
Like a VR. Okay.
Yeah, we could have a coupon day. We could let the little people see what this is like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. I just don't see the value of whatever they're doing here.
I don't really either. I've read or tried to skim a couple think pieces, kind of on both sides of the coin. A lot of them are very positive, saying that it's great that, the guy who started the space dreams of a lot of NASA scientists and astronauts, Captain Kirk, is finally getting to take this trip. But a lot of them are very more thoughtful about it and are pointing out the fact that Jeff Bezos is like the ultimate Star Trek villain. Like Kirk is basically going into space with the Grand Nagus, of the Ferengi Alliance.
Right.
And how Amazon stands for everything opposite to what Star Trek stands for.
Yes, exactly. So like, I will agree that I think it's important to like put William Shatner like really high in the atmosphere and let him see the planet. I think he deserves that. I think he's earned that. But yeah, by the value, I just mean of like whatever his whole project is. And like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know. I wake up every day and it's like some article that's like, by this year, like this amount of the planet will be underwater. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. Can you do something about that instead of like these weird, like low Earth, like flights you're doing? Like, I don't know. I guess you can probably do multiple things at the same time, but I don't know if they're interested in doing the other stuff.
Yeah. No word on whether he had to buy his ticket or not. I don't know how that works. Yeah,
like I said, I think he should get it for free. I don't
think that Bezos got to where he is by letting people do things for free.
I only watched a couple of minutes of it because it was unbearable, but they did do like a Star Trek parody on SNL of like Bezos all that. Of like him and Richard Branson, and it was like a Star Trek, they were in Star Trek uniforms, and I was like, this sucks. I turned it off.
Yeah, but that's the right move there. Yeah.
I will say, this is for the movie we watched. I watched it I saw it was on like a free streaming service, but it's like, it has commercials, and I was like, whatever, I can, take some breaks and look at my phone or something. Yeah. And almost every commercial break had like the two types of Amazon commercial. One was like it was like,
I love my job. They pay me $15 an hour.
Yeah, where it's a commercial for nothing but the job, which I think is a weird thing, but it's obvious why they're doing that. And then the other one is like, it was like a woke girl boss, Rapunzel, empowers herself by like using Amazon Prime. And it's like the two types of like, we're not evil commercials,
Right. Yeah. Boy, I wonder if they'll use, he's a famous pitchman, Shatner, if they'll use him in a commercial next because of this or to promote some aspect of this.
Yeah, that seems like it would be great. That would like totally fool a lot of people into thinking it's good, I guess.
Bezos like doesn't, boy, I mean like, Bezos, you don't get to where you are by being like a nice person, and you start off as like a nerd with a chip on your shoulder, right? But
probably, yeah.
But Bezos has been smart, I think, to not really be in any of the media or the marketing for Amazon, because he's a weird dude, and I think that he knows it. But he is 100%, because didn't he? I think he shifted positions, didn't he? He stepped down as like CEO,
Yes.
but he's still president. So like now he's sort of like, no, I'm going to be the face of the space company now. And so one of the things that he did today was he didn't take this trip, but the 4 people that did, came back. He was like there to greet them and was there during the press conference and was sort of a presence that was around the thing. So he's trying to be space daddy now, and it's just weird.
Yeah, it's like a weird like. Not retired. He's definitely not retired, but like it feels like a midlife crisis vibe he's got going on. But it also is a like billionaire detached from reality vibe to me.
I know, and all because of what if books, but on the internet.
Yeah. He earned that money.
Yeah, right. I knew books were dangerous. Well, let's talk about something that is somehow even scarier than what we've been talking about, and that's our featured subject for this week's episode. For whatever reason, a train is that most Hollywood of settings. By its very nature, it provides a varied cast of characters, a number of individual, small, yet easily distinguishable sets, and a constant, literal sense of motion for even the most talky of screenplays. Yet many train-bound films use their cramped and mobile setting as an enhancement for the drama and suspense on display. Just ask Hitchcock and his many, many scenes that are set on trains. The reality of commercial train travel, however, also introduces the reality of class in terms of both society and ticket price. Korean cinema delves often into both suspense and class and combines them together with a side of zombies in the 2016 film Train to Busan.
팀장님, 여기 11호차 응급 환자 발생했습니다.
아직까지 남의 안에 열려 있다니까. 우리 그냥 이것들 달고 부산으로 갑시다. 바로. 지금 몇 칸? 지금 무슨 일이 벌어지고 있는지 몰라? 우리 열차는 더 이상 부산으로 운행할 수가 없게 됐습니다.
All the good movies take place on a train.
All of them, every single one. There are so I was thinking like, okay, Strangers on a Train, 39 Steps, North by Northwest. Then you start to look into it and no, like almost all of his movies have like a scene on a train.
Oh yeah, sure.
And this doesn't even count like his silent movies. Like his silent movies, there's trains all over the place.
That's because and even the first movie ever, probably not, was that train.
Yeah,
The train coming at the screen.
And trains are different than planes. Now, let me finish. This is true.
Wait a minute.
Because it's before planes, that was like how you got around, and it was also a classy way to get around. But there's enough room for you to have
you can
people
chill
walk
out.
around. Yeah, you can chill out. You can film it, with on a set, on one side. And it's not like an airplane. I mean, you can do a scene on an airplane, but there's regulations on an airplane. It's very cramped. And so you can't really do a movie on an airplane unless it's a movie on an airplane like Passenger 57, most of which does not take place on an airplane, by the way. So it's just like that fascinating idea of you still see it sometimes. Like the last Bond movie had a scene on a train for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, James Bond trains, perfect.
Yeah, James Bond in trains for sure, From Russia with Love. But yeah, it's like you don't see train movies all that much these days. But when you think about all the ways that you can get trapped with zombies, be it in a mall or in an army base or in a school or something like that, getting trapped on a train with a zombie or a bunch of zombies is like, oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, you got they did that Resident Evil 0 on a train in the beginning.
That's right.
Perfect setting.
Yeah.
Last great train movie was probably Under Siege 2.
Yeah, the last good one. That's true. Yeah, it was definitely Under Siege 2. Yeah. Which itself is like a Die Hard ripoff.
Yep.
Also
even more so than
that,
the first one, I feel.
Yeah, right. Providing that like guy's trapped in a cramped space and he's got to take out other guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I love trains. They're fun.
And I'm sure that there is some. So I don't live in Korea, and I don't know a lot about Korea, but I know that a lot of their history, and especially their history in cinema, is tied up in their economic fortunes. And after they were devastated after the Korean War, obviously, and soon after the Korean War, there was a president of South Korea, Park Chung-hee, who was basically like a right-wing strongman who basically like cut down on like social reforms, but like helped the economy a lot. So the economy boomed for a lot of Korea, but they were censored and they were restricted in a lot of ways. And after he died in like he was assassinated actually in the late 70s, the censorship was lifted. And so you saw a lot of Koreans finding their economic position rising. And also the cultural side was able to flourish as well. And they've been making movies since the 40s, but like the South Korean Hollywood had a boom as well. And you still see them reacting to that today. Of course, Best Picture from 2 years ago, Parasite, was a great example of a South Korean class drama. But a lot of their horror films, a lot of their drama films, even their comedy films, like have these kind of class elements baked into them.
Yeah. That was very obvious here for sure. In this movie, it almost constantly. That's kind of what the movie is about. And that can be. I don't know. It's done really well here. It can obviously sometimes be like, okay, guys, we get it, but
it's conducive, I think, to this kind of movie too, because when you have a group of survivors, you're always going to want to have them fill a lot of different archetypes, in a lot of like, positions, and so you have to have like the rich guy who's like, well, do you know who I am? I'm Mr. Business CEO,
and he's sort of like a counter to the main character in a way,
Yeah. Our main character in this is a guy who is like a young professional. I think they say that he's in finance or he's like a hedge fund manager.
Yeah.
And so he is ostensibly somebody who, he's the overworked dad. He's the sorry-eyed Mr. Birthday, type dad. And he's already gotten divorced because of that. And so he's a guy who, if he gets out of this, which we won't spoil at the end of the movie, but he could go either way. He could be a guy who's like totally doesn't care about people. He's got a preoccupation with himself, and that's not going to make him a good survivor in this case. Yeah. So he has to learn to get over that.
Yeah, even like it becomes even more like with all the like stuff with his daughter and like stuff like the advice he gives her and stuff, like it becomes even more obvious, that it's about that. But even early on, I feel like he has that moment where he like watches her on the camcorder, and it's kind of a embarrassing and sad moment. And you feel like early on he's going to like try to connect with her after that. Cause you see in him, like you see him kind of react to it. Like, oh, that's upsetting,
Yeah. Maybe I'm a bad dad.
But then when he tries to connect with her to it, he doesn't really give encouraging advice. He's just like, don't be a quitter. You know what I mean? He doesn't say in like a very rude, at least from what I could tell, like it was more like, don't give up on things you start. But it wasn't necessarily like, I don't know. It didn't feel like the most encouraging way to say that, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that was kind of, I don't know. You kind of see like with him and the sort of like villain version of him, I guess you kind of see both sides of it. Because by the end with that guy, you kind of see how pathetic he is on his own too, and like his sort of his own fears, I guess. You kind of like get inside his head a little bit and see like why he is the way he is.
Yeah. I mean, how bad of a dad could he be? He bought her 2 Wiis.
That's pretty
sure,
sick.
he forgot he
yeah.
already bought her one, but now she's got 2 Wiis.
Yeah. That stuff was devastating too. I lied actually when I said this was good to like kick back and watch, because like this is a very upsetting movie from the beginning. I like it.
Yeah.
It kind of hooks you immediately with how much of a bummer it is.
It does. There's a little scene at the beginning that isn't really related to the rest of the action of the film, except to sort of set up the plot. And it does it very efficiently. Like, it tells you where we are. There's this farmer who pulls up to a checkpoint and people are spraying things down, so something's going on. And the guy who stops him says, "Yeah, there's been like a chemical leak, in the biotech sector or whatever," which is like, that sounds really bad for the start of a movie. But the guy's like, boy, you guys make me late again. And he drives off, and while he's not paying attention, he hits a deer, and he's like, "Oh crap, I hit a deer. All right, well, I'm gonna take off." And he leaves, and there's a pause, and the deer gets back up again.
And in like a totally disgusting way.
It's got white eyes, and so it's like this little tiny scene tells you like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Like, this is the zombie aspect. They get up real fast. They can move around. Yeah.
It's cool how they set everything up, because I feel like, we're obviously watching this alongside Impulse, which is this is not the inspiration for that, obviously, but Impulse is like clearly heavily inspired by, just the classic interpretation of the zombie. And so it's kind of cool to do this, because I feel like the movie, it does a lot of stuff that like the best zombie movies kind of have accomplished. I feel like it does hit a lot of those notes, but like very effectively. It doesn't feel like rote or anything. It doesn't feel like, oh, this has been done before. It feels like here's like a fresh take on it all.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that as they were like setting up. There's always in the zombie movies, if it's like, the outbreak moment where it's like kind of building up, and you're like, what? And it's like people don't know what's going on. Like, yeah, it's like cool that the movie can still manage to like make that freaky when it's like, I've seen a million movies where they do this.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to go full on World War Z or whatever, which it was compared to, which that came out at the time. But this is a very personal story, and it does a good job of sketching in the wider picture of what's going on with some of the citizen videos, the YouTube videos that we see, or the speech that the emergency management guy gives. But otherwise, it's just, you hear something on the news about there's some riots or something, and in that same like social commentary sort of thing, some of the people are like, what are they rioting about? They should get better jobs.
They'll riot about anything.
Yeah, they're not taking it seriously. And then when he's driving her to the train station, there's like a fire somewhere and there's ash falling, and you get the idea that something is going on, in the margins of this world, but we're totally focused on, what's going on in the lives of these characters.
Yeah, it's really good at kind of doing the both, for sure.
It's really good at introducing very fast the characters as well. Everybody sort of gets on the train, and so we meet. There's CEO, business guy. There's a baseball team. We kind of get a glimpse of the stewards who are working on the train. There's the pair of old ladies. I should say there's one old lady. The other actress, for some reason, is clearly like a middle-aged or younger woman in a wig.
Aged up. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Not sure. I don't know why they did that, but, it's a thing. And then we get the idea that there's some kind of scuffle on the platform, and we don't really focus in on it, and people are curious, but the train just takes off. And right as it takes off, a girl runs on. And it's, being zombie movie watchers, we know, okay, this girl has been bitten and she's in trouble. And she goes into one of the washrooms, and then somebody says, hey, there's somebody weird in the washrooms. And they do this great switcheroo when the steward goes to the washroom and opens it up. And inside is a homeless guy who's clearly totally freaked out about something. And it's like, he's the problem. He's the problem customer here. We got to get rid of this guy. They're not even thinking about this girl who is like zombifying in the other bathroom across the hall.
Right. Yeah. That was like a, yeah, that was a good twist, a good way of like, I don't know, getting that across too, because he, like, it's already, like you said, you're already aware of what's going on here, but then like seeing how freaked out he is, like, kind of raises the tension too. Like, the movie is very, like, the beginning and all that stuff with the daughter is like very sad, but then it's like very tense. I feel like the whole movie, it does a good job of like I said, even though you've kind of seen similar things in other zombie movies, like kind of keeping the situation very tense.
Yeah, it isn't, I don't want to say it's not scary, but it's not scary in the way that you think of, like, you see a character, you know, get their throat torn out or their guts ripped out or something by zombies, and you think, you know, the zombies are scary, and you think about that happening to you. It's more just like, you, in a very short amount of time, you get to know and kind of like these characters. And when they meet that wall of zombies, you know, it's over for them, and you like don't want to see that happen, you know?
Yeah.
Because when it comes right down to it, they do a pretty good job on the zombies. Of course, they've got that really big guy who is just like a zombie killing machine for some reason. That's like his secret power.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. He's really great, and I just thought that, like, as I was watching this, I think the first time I watched it, I already knew that he had gotten like his deal with Marvel, the actor Madan Sek, but like this could have been like, this is probably his Marvel audition tape. Just send this in. It's like, hey, I kill zombies, but they make it pretty good. You know, it's to the movie's credit that there's a tension that you don't want them. They have to go from like car 9 to car 13 to like rescue their friends. Mm-hmm. And you know it's going to be tough, but they pretty handily like get through like the zombies.
Yes.
Like nobody, but you don't feel cheated. You don't feel like it was too easy.
No, definitely not. It is worth mentioning because the movie can be sad, very sad. It can be very tense, but it is worth including that it's like, it's a small percentage of the movie just kicks ass. And I think that's cool that it also does that. But yeah, like I think, yeah, it managed to keep that tension. It doesn't feel too easy, but I will say it is a little bit just like capital S scary too. Like even though I don't think it's trying to like reinvent the wheel of zombies or whatever, like it does have kind of a cool portrayal of like zombies, you know, where I feel like it's recognizably a zombie, but it's not. Yeah. It's also like it's kind of unique. Like I haven't totally seen it before.
Yeah, it's unique, and the rules are pretty simple. They set up the rules pretty well, and they remain simple. Like they're totally ravenous. They'll do whatever they can to like bite or kill you, but they're kind of like rage zombies. But they're very limited in what they can do. They can basically like see and hear a little bit, and that's it. And then our heroes find a way to sort of exploit that by. You know, the train's compartments are separated by these, you know, plastic sort of sliding doors. And so they can block those. And once they block those, out of sight, out of zombie mind, the zombies just kind of mill around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does make you wonder, like, I think I often think about this in a lot of stuff. Like, they can almost, like, immediately tell when, like, someone's now a zombie or, like, you know, someone's, like one of them notices someone and therefore like they all notice, you know. It's, I don't know, it makes me wonder about that, but
like they've got like a group mind or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth going into like in the movie or anything, but yeah, like it'll be like they'll be on a car and like one of them will notice and then all of a sudden they're all running, you know, even if they're not like looking directly at you. But then they also show like if they can't see you, they don't know you're there, you know.
Yeah. There's a great part where the dad character, they all kind of cram into the train car when the zombies first show up, and then they close the door and they're like, quick, you have to lock it. And it's like, how do you lock this? And the dad's like, just let go. I don't think you have to lock it. I don't think they know how to work the locks.
Yeah.
And so the door's just closed, but the zombies are like, rah, they can't get through.
There's enough of a tension that it's like, though, like, you do want to cover it up because they will eventually break through, which is scary.
They'll just bust through. There's a couple scenes where the zombies just break glass and they all just like pour through like toothpaste.
That's kind of where you see like the World War Z thing people mention, is because they like sometimes pile. It's not like that totally though, you know. It's not like
that's like so like original zombies, like, 1968 Night of the Living Dead zombies are just like people who aren't talking to you, but they're just trying to reach for you. And then we got like limpy, chewy zombies. And then like 28 Days Later gave us like, angry running zombies. And like the new thing is like flowing zombies, right? It's like there's so many zombies in a limited space that they're just like pushing each other through an area.
It's kind of fun. I kind of like it, actually. But yeah, that's not fully what's going on here. I do like that it is like there's sort of an element, and it kind of ties into like the story too, of just like how they do like make you go a little bit angry, like that you go super mad, like like when he's on the phone with his like mom or whatever, and right before she like turns, she's like talking about the other mom. She's like, that bitch or whatever, like,
yeah.
So I like that it's like seeing them like fight it off. And I like the little moments where people have where it's almost like you almost see like the switch, go off and they just like turn, that's kind of, I don't know. That's kind of like a cool signifier. It's really freaky. That's like where it's like really scary to me.
There must be, yeah. I think that it's like in any zombie story, it's relegated to like drama. That's like drama determines how quick they change, but possibly it's also down to constitution and maybe bite location, because the big guy gets bit on the hand and like he lasts a while just because he has to. But when the girl, the cheerleader baseball fan, gets bit, it's almost instantaneous. Like she falls down just long enough to be, for the guy to weep, and then she's immediately like, "Rawr," and just bites him, and that's it.
That was a cool moment. Yeah, they do really good like turns, and the one with the like capitalist guy in the end is, I love that moment of him, like, it's not rage, but him kind of reverting to like this childlike state,
Yeah, and the dad, I guess we are kind of spoiling it, but like the dad kind of has that too, because, it's true that his entire emotional arc in the film is trying to grow closer to and protect his daughter. So it makes sense that his last thoughts would be about her, but it's almost like the bite sort of puts you into a place, like to your emotional core. If Mr. Business's whole thing is like, fear and like his mommy complex, then that makes sense that that's his like dying thing. And the dad's like just thinking about, how much he loves his daughter and how beautiful she is. We don't really boil down enough into the other characters to really know if they have similar moments like that, but that might have been an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah. Yeah, it made for cool enough moments. I mean, the best one had to be the big guy. Like, that was actually awesome when he turned and he was like holding some of them, and he just starts raging.
He's got zombie strength.
I was kind of like laughing when that happened, but in like a cool way. I was like, this kicks ass. He's just freaking out, like moshing with the zombies.
Yeah. He's like, you know what our baby's name is. I'm assuming it's his name.
I guess, yeah.
Name him after me. Now watch this.
It was impressive. I would be impressed.
The watching a film like this, you kind of have to just know, most of these people aren't going to get out of this, but how are they going to, acquit themselves at the end? And I think it goes right down the line of kind of what you expect, like the hero characters and the somewhat villain characters. Then there's a couple neutral characters. There's old lady who's like, yeah, I've had a good run. Just kind of goes out. And then there's other old lady characters.
She
who's like,
snaps.
Everybody in this car should die. So if you don't have a name, you're dead now, and just opens the door.
It was, punishment.
Payback. That was pretty hardcore. And it's funny because that's definitely like third act time, because the whole movie, there's that great part in the movie where, there's a middle car that's full of zombies, and there are survivors in the front and survivors in the back. And so that's a problem. Like, are they going to get together? What's going to happen? And when the train finally stops at the Daejeon station, they're all able to get out. But when they try to, like, I think somebody accidentally opens like the zombie car. So then now all the zombies are out. And then when they run back to the train, some of them get on the zombie car and some of them get like in the front car. And so now you've got some of our guys have been moved to the front now, but now some of them are like in, ultimate danger.
It was a good shake-up.
Yeah, it's just good. Like everybody's just fruit basket upset the train. Yeah.
I was gonna say I was like a little bummed at first when they went to that station. I was like, wait a minute, this is called Train to Busan. They got to stay on this train.
Yeah, they're not gonna get off this train.
And then they didn't. I was like, okay, they're back on. Like that was clever. But then they do get on a new train, and I was pissed again.
Well, it's a different train. Yeah, other Train to Busan. It's really Train to Daejeon.
You save Trains to Busan for the sequel, like Aliens.
Right, yeah. Yeah, when they go to that station and everybody gets off and they think, oh, okay, this is going to be great. And then they start going down the escalator and they see like the feet of the soldiers. And they're like, that's a lot of soldiers. It's like, oh, no, they're all zombies.
You know as soon as you see the feet that that's not going to be good.
We got to get out of here. Yeah.
That's like what's like so much of this movie is like you see stuff and you know like what's supposed to be happening in a minute, and but it's still like you're just like, oh shit,
Yeah, it really it's so, I mean, a lot of these beats are like you said, like they're just not predictable, but they're like standard zombie movie beats, but the movie just uses them in a really fresh way. You don't feel like, oh, I've seen this kind of thing before.
Yeah, no. And like you mentioned about how all the characters are kind of going to go. And I remember like the first time watching it, like I remember I watched it like a year ago and I was sort of like calling out what I thought was about to happen. And it didn't happen. Like I was like, oh, okay, that didn't happen. But then watching it this time, I wasn't thinking about that. But like, I felt like the way every character like died or whatever, like made total sense, or like, it like, not from a like plot perspective, but it just felt very satisfying and like in the story, except for the one was weird, I guess, like that old lady one, like still felt like, okay, she like snapped or whatever because they're like to punish because they're I don't know. I guess that makes sense. Actually,
I gotta clean up this cast here. We got too many characters.
Yeah, that's what it feels more like. That one feels like more check the plot box than anything. Yeah. But thinking about it now, actually, I do like it. I like that she's like, because she was really upset about her friend, and she's just like, yep, nope, you're all going to die.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, sometimes you got to clean the cast out. It reminds me of another socially conscious genre, a Korean piece of art, which is Squid Game, which is on Netflix right now, where it also involves, people of varying classes dealing with deadly situations. And there's a lot of characters, and a lot of them don't have names. And so there are sequences where we lose a lot of those characters.
And a lot of little moments of like not even the deaths, but the little moments where, it all is like, I think it's because like every little beat sort of is like serving a very specific like character purpose. Like, oh, like so-and-so helps so-and-so here, and that shows like they care to help other, you know what I mean? Like, whereas like the dad's not going to help here, but then he does later, like,
yeah.
And
he initially almost locks the big guy and his wife out because the zombies are right behind them. And then later on, when they're all safe, the big guy's like, you owe me an apology, don't you? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're going to lock us out. But then later he saves the guy's daughter when a zombie's coming after her. So yeah, he's sort of like learning this lesson of like, no, we're all in this together.
Right. Yeah. So I think, while that can be, I feel like it's pretty obvious what's going on like with that, but I don't know. It just all felt very satisfying.
It's a movie that, I don't know, they're all in one place. So I guess like modern technologies like cell phones isn't a huge factor, but it manages to use cell phones in kind of a cool way.
Yeah.
First of all, they use them they call a cell phone to like distract the zombies, like while they're in the dark. So they all move a different way. And then later on they realize that when the train goes through tunnels, it's dark. So the zombies are kind of paralyzed. And he goes on Google Maps and he's like, okay, there's a tunnel coming up in 2 miles. So we've got about 2 minutes when we can get through this thing. I thought that was like, oh, that's a good use of like smartphones, which tend to ruin movies these days.
Yeah, it's like very even with that, I feel like it had all these satisfying character moments, but all the like plot beats were also just felt very clever and satisfying.
Shout out to Unsung Hero, the conductor engineer guy.
He was a big hero. Yeah,
he did his job right up until the end.
I really liked that, as opposed to the other guy who was kind of like swayed by the capitalist dude. But
yeah, also could be seen, I guess, to be doing his job. This is a very positive movie for the Korean service industry.
Yeah, they looked very nice. Like, I like their uniforms, and there was some nice looking just scenes with those guys and their uniforms, and it was like a pretty nice looking movie. There was some like not great. I feel like there's like not great effects at times in the movie, but you kind of forgive it. I don't know. I feel like some of the like especially when they're outdoor and they're like on the train, like I feel like some of the backgrounds are, look very like, I don't know, like green screen or like CG, or like looks kind of fakey a little bit, like kind of cornball-y, but I don't know, it's kind of forgivable. It's not like a Marvel movie where it's like the largest budget.
Yeah.
You know what it looked like? Like there were parts where it looked like that out of context Black Widow clip that people were sharing on Twitter that looked like ridiculous. Except, like, in this case, that's, like, the largest movie company in the world,
That's true. And this only cost 9 million Americans. So for that much money, that's very impressive.
Yeah, and you see where they did put the budget. Because it's, like, there are nice-looking stuff, and, like, some of the zombie effects are really cool.
Yeah. The movie has a sequel, which is more of a sidequel, called Peninsula, which came out last year. I haven't seen it. It doesn't extend this story, but it's sort of set in the same universe. As far as like quote unquote universe goes, like I don't know if the director Yeon Sang-ho has any plans for future stuff, and we don't really get a sense in this movie of what the whole deal is. There's a suggestion that the company that Dad and his company were investing in is the company that is behind like whatever the agent was that got out. And so there's a question of like, whether he feels responsible, but otherwise we don't have any more mythology to the story there. It's also a little weird that I know that they get to a point where the track is blocked, but it's I feel like a train, especially like a Korean bullet train, could outrun this thing. If it turns people to zombies almost immediately, there's almost no time to like drive to another location. So if they're just rocketing at 200 miles an hour, like out of the city center, you would need, how does it spread so fast? I know we do see one scene where apparently zombies are hanging from a helicopter and just drop into a different town and it spreads that way. But you would definitely be able to get outside the range of this, I would think.
Well, maybe, another train got out.
That another train going faster in an opposite direction. That's your word problem.
Yeah. Maybe like while it was breaking out, someone else got it on a train. I don't know.
I do like the fact that they really set us up for a bummer ending, and you think like, oh, after all of this, no, why now is the real theme going to be man's inhumanity to man, and they're going to gun down this lady and this little girl? But they picked the perfect time to bring back the runner that they set up way at the beginning of the movie, where she's trying to sing Aloha Oe and she can't do it.
She's singing it for her dad. Aww.
She's just singing it for her dad, and they're like, no, they're alive. Let him in.
Yeah, I could have gone either way with that, which is also why when I think about like expanded universe, it's almost like I don't care. Like I don't really want to know what happens with those two characters beyond this. Like I kind of got the picture, but yeah, sure. I could have gone either way with that. I did see like the first time I watched it, like almost the Night of the Living Dead ending where he just gets shot in the end.
Yeah,
and
we're kind of headed for that.
Yeah, and I feel like that could have been effective too, but then bringing that back actually felt like, even though I feel like sometimes with the end of movies where they go with that, like the good ending, it feels like cheap. Whereas like this, it felt like it made more sense to do.
Yeah.
Like I just think of like the Tribble Blood bringing back Kirk in Star Trek Into Darkness, and I'm like, are you serious? You know?
Yeah. This I guess this felt earned rather than the Trouble Blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, anything else you can think about to say about Train to Busan?
Yeah, I think I don't want to undersell just how cool. What was his name? Ma Dong Sek is. He's very cool in this movie. He's just like very charismatic. Like every moment, like even when he's like not doing anything, it's just like this guy's sweet. That's my main takeaway from the movie.
He's definitely a standout star, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in Eternals. And also, I thought the little girl was very good.
Oh yeah. You never know what you're gonna get. You know, sometimes with a kid.
There's kind of a thing that they're doing, and maybe it's a choice, but like a lot of the characters have kind of like not a lot of emotions and kind of a flat effect. Certainly, that's the dad's problem. I don't want to blame the actor, but like the dad, most of the movie, he's just like not reacting to things. Like he just doesn't. He's kind of wooden and sort of paralyzed, and maybe that he passes that on to his daughter, but he delivers in the emotional scenes when it counts. And then once the girl like stops being kind of like a paralyzed little girl and starts freaking out, like she's just really good.
Yeah, I mean, with the father, I feel like maybe it's like kind of a thankless role for a good deal of it, but I think it made a lot of sense that he's kind of just like, I don't know, like he's almost like has no personality, because like I feel like people with that kind of job are either like older and they're like older like demons, like that one guy, or they're like the younger crop, which is just like soulless people, and so he has a soul, but you kind of it has to like creep out of him,
And the one time that he like shows emotions when he's going after like Mr. Business CEO, he's like, "Why did you lock us out?" And he's like, "He's infected. Look at him. He's crazy."
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a good moment.
After they go through all that, they have to go sit in like the other side. But of course, it ends up saving them when the old lady opens the door.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like this type of movie can sometimes like border on the edge, like it's like a morality tale, almost. And sometimes, like when that moment happens, it borders on the line of like preachy, which I guess is the point of the movie. But like sometimes it like when it's so in your face, sometimes it can like piss you off, I feel like. But it's all it's done very well here, and it's very like it's all very satisfying. So I don't know. I think too bad.
That kind of social commentary goes hand in hand with this whole thing, though. You mentioned Night of the Living Dead, where a black man is the only survivor and he gets shot by a bunch of white men, or Dawn of the Dead, where we see zombies as the metaphor for mindless American consumption, and they're all stuck in a mall the entire time. So that's always been. It's hard to do zombies without any kind of cultural context, but Paul W.S. Anderson gave it a bunch of tries.
No, yeah. I mean, some of those are pretty rockin' though. So
I love those movies. Well, we're not talking about those. We're talking about this. So let's take a break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more backtracking.
So Caliban, you finally show your face. Just in time for me to blow it off.
It's fitting you chose to hide in this abandoned movie theater, Mika and Hana, because for you, the show's over.
Big talk, but soon you'll be as dead as all the well-loved celebrities we lost this year.
When I'm done, they'll be cleaning you off the walls like COVID-19.
Wait, where's your face mask?
I thought we were going to fight outside.
Oh, come on!
I mean, if the murder hornets aren't out there still.
Take this.
If you want to watch HBO Max on my phone.
I'll start cooking some beans in this old boot.
Just Enough Trope. News, reviews, and apocalyptic views every Monday on the Just Enough Trope Network.
Won't the 5G kill us? Shh. Okay, we're back. It's time to talk about the Trek side of this equation. Star Trek has a hard time with horror, beyond the fact that Trek exists in a rational world with no room for ghosts or supernatural entities, and where every monster is just a misunderstood potential friend. But it certainly doesn't seem like the place for a zombie story, which are generally characterized by a cynicism about the true nature of man and the fragility of civilization. Since Trek represents the optimistic pinnacle of society, there's no way anyone would hide a zombie bite, right? No way that one would resolve themselves to bashing in the skull of a man who was their friend just 5 seconds before. But Trek is a broad setting, and it's always game to take a bite out of a new genre, like it does in the 3rd season Enterprise episode, Impulse.
UPN Wednesday on an all-new Star Trek Enterprise. There is a darkness deep within the Delphic expanse some say can drive a Vulcan mad.
I don't know, this one for me, it was kind of like the opposite of Train to Busan, where it was like, I don't know, I couldn't engage with this episode that much. It just didn't really excite me. I don't know about you.
I remember seeing it and thinking, oh, they're doing zombies. And then immediately thinking, oh, they won't have any social context. I know that like Trek often uses like allegory and metaphor to like, do social stories, but the whole zombies is like, there's no consumerism, there's no racism, there's no like, what is it going to mean? And I think they did a good job of sort of backporting it into their established mythology, the idea of the prejudices between humans and Vulcans, and the fact that, we don't dig into it enough in Enterprise to really make it pay off in this episode, but that people on the human crew is maybe suspicious of T'Pol as a Vulcan, and T'Pol has her own kind of preconceptions about the humans and what their mission is. And so that is kind of those are the emotions that come immediately to the fore when she's affected by this infection.
Yeah, I think maybe this is a small thing, but I feel like it doesn't work as well when it like really seems like she's the only one who can be affected by it, if that makes sense. Like, you were talking about how like they fought their way through trains of zombies, but it didn't feel too easy. And that's because it's like constantly tense because, like one bite and it's over. And
yeah,
it didn't feel too easy because like our favorite character,
she can't bite anybody.
Yeah. And
there's no way to spread it.
At the end of their train fight, a guy does get bit and turns, but like, yeah. And so I feel like it only being her it kind of takes away from it. I feel like what's kind of interesting about it is, again, like that it like causes them to like rage, and you kind of like see her unravel, and it's like that would be to me my approach to it is like you could see how that could affect other people, similar to like when they get a virus that makes them all horny. Like, what if they get a virus or whatever that makes them all like pissed off and like zombie like, and like their almost their transformation into it is kind of what's interesting, I guess.
What are the stakes really? What is the lasting damage? We never think that like at least Archer and Malcolm and probably T'Pol, they're never not going to get back to the shuttlecraft, but like, is there something that will is there a time clock? Will she be irreversibly insane after a while? They do mention that the crew of the ship, are uncurable. There's nothing we can do for them.
Right.
But like, how long will that take compared to what's going on with T'Pol? They never really do anything, with that.
And I think the last way that it kind of just feels like bland to me is that they're mostly just like phasering them. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, great.
They never pick up like an improvised weapon and like, bash somebody's head in or something like that.
And I feel like maybe it's unfair to just be like, here's some ways it's different from zombie stuff, but they're also clearly going for the comparison. But it's like, one of the things about zombie stuff is like, you have to like brutally like kill these things that are like humanoid, and sometimes like people you used to care about, you have to like, smash their head in or whatever, cut their head off or something like horrible. But here it's just like, all right, we got like, they're like, oh, we need to go to a higher setting, and it's like, no, that might kill them, or it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Them or us. Yeah. I think everything that you're pointing out was nailed already by Star Trek with the Borg. You've got an infection that can spread and is dangerous. You've got Worf ripping off guys' arms and breaking guys' necks, and he's got when the phasers don't work anymore. And that brutality that seems to be necessary for a good zombie story is generally there in Borg stories.
Yeah, actually, I think First Contact, while you still don't have like too many people that like getting turned, like I feel like First Contact the movie like does a better like zombie-ish telling, and I feel like because you see it imperil people in different ways, like with Picard, it's like tied to his like stuff with the Borg, and like Data's got his whole thing going on, and then you do have like, here's a guy we introduced to turn later when we're out fixing the dish or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, in this it's just like a bunch of guys you don't know, a bunch of Vulcan dudes, and then like the one character, which I guess that, I don't know, that could be fine in almost any other story, but it's just weird to like be like, we're doing a zombie thing where like no one can be a zombie.
Yeah. When they were on production on this episode, they did in the script and in the art materials refer to them as Vulcan Zombies. So there is no, I don't think there's any specific movie or bit of genre that they were looked to for direct inspiration, but they definitely were doing, this is the Vulcan Zombie episode.
Yeah, no, it's pretty clear. The only other one that comes close, I guess, is like they do that one that's like the sequel to First Contact, where there's like the Borg, I guess.
Yes, Regeneration, which we talked about on the show.
Yeah.
This episode has the shortest teaser in the franchise.
Oh yeah, they did try to do, I feel like with the teaser and the end, like they tried to do something different than their format, you know?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And sometimes those changes and those bits of creativity are brought out by problems. I don't know about the first part. I think it's a short but effective teaser. The last scene at the end was brought about because once they got done with all the shooting and all the stunts and effects work, they realized like they were short a couple minutes, and they're like, "Oh, we got to shoot something else." So they're just like, what if we do one of those dream things where she's like, oh no. And so they were able to use the Enterprise existing sets and everything. And then, just fill in a little bit. And I think that it really works. And if they had just written that into the script, I think it would have been, a good ending. But it just turns out they were like, oh God, we need something really fast.
Yeah. It felt a little, I don't know. I felt like that was a little unearned. I was like, okay, like it's over. Okay. It's over. I don't know.
Well, in a horror or like a zombie movie, you'll have a sequence or a scene like that. It's not always the end. It's usually like in the middle when the characters think they've gotten out of something, but they're still in it. I guess like at the end of a a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, you'd have like the character think that they've won and beat
Friday.
Freddy.
That always happens every Friday the 13th. Also,
yeah,
it's like, oh, we're safe, and then Jason like blasts through the window or something. You're like, and it happens at Train to Busan a little bit where it's like, I think don't they discover the conductor? Yeah, it's just like feels like, there's always like a raising the stakes when you think like you've kind of hit the climax, I guess.
There's one more step that you got to get through here.
Oh yeah, it's after he kicks like the hands of the zombies grabbing the train. And it's like, okay, they're good. And then it's like, nope, the last guy's there.
Who's driving the train? Mr. CEO businessman.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I feel like most of the episodes of Enterprise I've talked about either on this show or on Enterprising Individuals have been from the third season of Enterprise. And I don't know if it's just because those are the episodes that stuck with people, or if they're the best ones, I don't know. But it's weird because that's the fully serialized season that ostensibly takes place, all in the Delphic Expanse. But yet they seem to find all these chances to do things that have nothing to do with the Cindy, like Vulcan Zombie Ship or Cowboy Planet, or let's make a clone of Trip. It's all these like interesting premises that are being worked out in this ostensibly like one.
That's cool. I like
mission
that.
Season. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why that sticks out as memorable. Like when I think about the idea of like going through it again, it's like, I feel like the first season especially is like, the whole like, what if there was Red Alert or like Prime Directive or like stupid stuff. You don't like total prequel stuff, and then they like then when it's like, all right, like 9/11 time, that's where it becomes a little bit more distinct from other Star Trek.
Yeah, but it isn't like 100% 9/11 time. They're still like doing these side things.
Yeah, totally. That's
when...
cool though. I think is like, don't get so you gotta have other stuff going on. I feel like
it could have been fun if when they decided to do movie night again, they picked something like what about Night of the Living Dead? That's a good one.
Oh my god, I don't know what it is, but like when they talk about like movies and stuff on this show, I like hate it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
One of the classic Hope Crosby comedies. You know, those movies that are 200 years old. We love those.
Yeah, like for some reason, I find it charming. Not always, but maybe it just depends on how much I like the series. But like, I get a kick when like Odo's like, talking about O'Brien's old sea shanty, Louie. I'm like, that's funny. That's funny because he called it a sea shanty. But in this, they're just like, we like them classic pictures. I'm like, shut up. Like, you don't even watch TV anymore. Like,
let's watch one of them classic The Rock and Kevin Hart pictures.
Yeah. What if they threw on Central Intelligence? I wish they would once. I mean, I guess because then you also run the risk of like mentioning like Elon Musk, and then it doesn't hold up in like 4 years,
Yeah, I suppose maybe like aiming for Hope Crosby kind of works for that, but like, why not like? Did they ever watch like they do mention the Marx Brothers, I think, in one episode, or like I could see Trip being a Three Stooges fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I just hate it. I think it has to do with like just how much I already like the series. Maybe I'm biased because like, yeah, I hate like all the stuff Tom Paris likes. I don't know.
It's just trying too hard.
Yeah, that's what it is.
No one likes to try hard. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas I feel like it could be maybe it's because I know, but I know the people who wrote Deep Space Nine just like love baseball. So like even when they're not trying they're going to mention baseball.
And plus all the Road to pictures were Paramount Pictures. Like most of the media that they talk about is all on brand.
Yeah, much like when we did Funny Face or whatever, and it's like, oh wow, it's on Paramount Plus.
Well, look at that. Yep. This is it's an interesting follow-up to something that we saw before. In an earlier episode, we saw this other Vulcan ship, and everybody on board is trying to kill each other, and then they like self-destructed. And I don't know how far ahead they were planning, but it was I guess it was an interesting sort of first act to like what we got here. The only problem is that that's a fun like little mystery, and the answer is underwhelming. It's that there's just a bunch of like stranded, Vulcan zombies. But if you think of that, if you think of this as a second act to the third act, which is T'Pol's Trellium addiction, it's even more disappointing because T'Pol's Trillium addiction is not an interesting storyline. Like a lot of their ongoing ideas don't really flower into anything really exciting.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. I also I just don't remember. Like nothing. I could barely like get through it. It wasn't like even like unwatchable. It was just like, what's happening? Like, okay. And then like as soon as I was done watching it, like I could not tell you what like fully happened other than like they were in like a strobe light ship shooting zombie Vulcans,
Yeah. Yeah. There's it's kind of an interesting idea, I guess, because like how often do you get to explore stories about like substance abuse, or drug use? In Star Trek, but also like, I don't know, we don't have to do that. Just because you haven't done it doesn't mean you have to. And I never thought T'Pol always got these weird storylines. Like she got brain AIDS from a guy, or she's got like a space rock drug addiction for some reason. It's like, why are these all T'Pol plots?
They just feel like she can be the vulnerable one or something. I don't know.
I guess, like, give Mayweather something. He'd love to do something.
I was thinking, like, when some of those side characters, like, show up, I guess they're not supposed to be side characters, but I was like, oh, yeah. this guy, what's he do? I don't know what he does, you know?
Yeah, right.
I was like, okay, she answers the phone. Like, that's her job.
Yeah.
But what's that other guy do? I don't know.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the pilot, and so they wake him up, and then Archer's driving the shuttle through the the maze of asteroids to the ship. I guess Archer was a pilot too, but still.
True.
I have to give Julian Blaylock, as to Paul, credit here. Credit that she rarely gets for her work on the show. I do think that she is a great actress, and I think that she has a chance to show it in episodes like this. And it took me a long time I didn't really like her for a long time until I really watched all of Enterprise and sort of saw it as a whole, and realized that it was, it's half playing that sort of emotionless character, but it's also half the writers not really giving you anything to do.
Yeah, if I feel like, it depends. Like, sometimes it feels checked out. Like, it just doesn't feel like, or it's that thing we've talked about where it's like, okay, this is like the third time we've done this story. Where it's like, it sometimes it just feels like a little worn down, I guess. Like, and that, I think that happens with all the characters sometimes too. But in here it has a couple moments that similar to the 51st Dates episode, I think, where they kind of like talk about like the friendship between her and Archer, like that. I kind of like that stuff.
Yeah, those are good beats to play, especially when I feel like in early episodes they were kind of teasing that like maybe they were going to be a thing.
Yeah, in the 51st Dates episode, that was totally it.
And once they switched that to her and Trip, a pairing that I still am not sure that I'm 100% okay with.
No,
I think that their like colleague kind of relationship is a lot more rewarding.
Yeah, like it really doesn't feel like she needs to like be with anybody on that ship, but you got two characters, you got to put them together.
No, but she's got like all these secret desires, and she loves jazz.
Cool.
There's got you write yourself into a corner because you've got characters that like don't show emotion, and if they do, there's something wrong. After a while, you must run out of like things that you can do with characters like that. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that's how I feel about with like, I mean, a lot of the characters like that, like Tuvok, I kind of feel similarly about too sometimes, where it's like, oh, here's an episode where it's like he's got to come out of his shell or something. And it's like, all right.
Yeah,
he's gone through this, I feel like.
What I liked about Tuvok was that like he's old, and also he's like 100% Vulcan, so he's not like somebody who's torn between two worlds like Spock is, although Spock rarely ever acts all that human. He was like, he's a successful Vulcan. This is what a normal Vulcan who's in Starfleet, who's had a lot of experience, this is what he would act like. The unfortunate part is like we only get to see him in the circumstances of the Voyager being trapped in the Delta Quadrant. Like I'd like to see like an ongoing story when he returns. Like what does he do just when he's in Starfleet at large? Yeah,
I feel like because in the Voyager situation, the best he ever gets to me is like when he's like an accessory character. And he's not like the main episode, but like Tuvok episodes, I feel like I rarely am like super jazzed about.
You didn't like the one where he gets turned evil?
Which one?
I can't remember the circumstances, but there's something where like something's going wrong. Oh no, it's Meld, isn't it? When he
no, that one rocks actually.
Yeah.
But that again, it's because there's the Brad Dourif, and I feel like he's like secondary to him, even though he's going through a lot. Like it's more to me the thing that's interesting is Brad Dourif's character.
Yeah. These Vulcans are not technically zombies. They're just people whose brains have been ravaged by this Trellium D.
Yeah.
And as such, I like the fact that they had like their faculties kind of still. Like they can use weapons. They can like disable some of the systems on the ship and like, screw up the escape route for our heroes.
They were Resident Evil 4 zombies.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
Where it's like they're kind of just like weird, angry guys.
They're just weird, angry people that yell at you in Spanish.
Yeah.
And as we establish that our heroes are movie lovers, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for them to not, like, you know, make some kind of crack about zombies or something like that, right?
Yeah, you're right. Like, zombies are, like, I feel like a very, it's like one of the most public domain things I could think of, because even, like, the, like, big movie that's like the big zombie movie is like a public domain movie, so like they should have just been watching that. It would have been really corny, but that's what they should have been watching.
Yeah, maybe they were limited by that fact, but you know, plus, like, if Trip had gone on the ship, then we would have had, like, you know, what in the George Romero's going on here?
Oh, that'd been awesome. I think I think they needed more, like, red shirts to get like destroyed by them too, you know, like, not gory, you know, because you can't really do gore, but like there should have just been some like good murders. I feel like would have been great.
Like the cost is zero. Like, they go to this thing, they get a bunch of ore out of it, and they blow up this ship, and they lose like no one at all. And it's like, that's the zombie movie. Okay.
Well, they lose like the Vulcan guys.
Yeah,
and they like
but,
try to make a big deal.
The whole point
out
is
of it.
that, I guess, but the whole point is that, like, it's only T'Pol that really cares about them.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe it doesn't. Yeah. I feel like this is one where it's like I think you had to let go a little bit and just be like go genre, you know, and not stick to like your Star Trek rules almost. Send some characters who would kill some Vulcans, you know?
Yeah. Have some kind of field in the asteroid field make their weapons not work. Because this is also a zombie movie where they have, like, plentiful guns. They've all got guns with unlimited ammo. That's not fair.
Yes, and they're like, again, they're like phasers, so it's like, it's just kind of boring watching them phase someone, and it looks like nothing, you know?
That's true, but, you know, you can't save humanity without holding on to what makes you human.
It was also just unpleasant to look at, like every part of that ship was like strobe light, you know? I felt like that was like the only way they could convey that like things were messed up was strobing lights everywhere. And I was like, okay, I get that could be cool for like a scene, but it was like the whole set was that.
It's weird too, because I thought the set deck was like pretty good. Like, I wondered if that was just the Enterprise corridors that they distressed, or if they have to build a different set. Like, it looked good.
Yeah. And they did a lot of sparks too, which I think were cool though. Like, sparks were cool, but I don't know. I think they could have done something different. Maybe just like mood lighting would have been cool, you know?
Some fog.
Fog, yeah. Fog would have totally sold it.
And a wolf howling in the distance.
some like bats flying around.
Well, I'm not quite sold that Star Trek can do horror just yet, but there's plenty more attempts in the future, I'm sure.
I hope that they nail it someday. They can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get another chance in the future. Let's talk about the technology of Trek, which sometimes facilitates what the characters are doing, but just as often is the actual complication they're dealing with. On every show, we randomly pick from a list of Star Trek technologies. We add what we get to the non-Trek media and subtract it from the Trek episode to see how each would be different. We call this our technological exchange. And here is the list of technology that we work off of. The list is phasers, holodecks, tricorders, transporters, warp drives, replicators, communicators, shields, advanced medical technology, and androids. And if I roll on my random number selecting technology, I get the number 2. So if holodecks existed in the world of Train to Busan, how would their world be different?
That's fun, I guess. I wonder how they'd be implemented if it's like maybe it could be like a Fahrenheit 451 situation where
what?
They have like TVs in that are like on their walls, right? It's almost like a full surround.
Oh,
I'm just imagining, like, you know, maybe that's just I'm thinking of the social commentary of that. But
well, first most boring answer would be on the train, you've got a dining car, you've got specialized cars, you'd have, a holodeck car.
Yeah.
So you could pull a thing like Picard does in First Contact, where the zombies
so sick, yeah.
come into a holographic environment and they're like, wow, why can't I bite anybody? And then you can, use a real sword that you made to like cut them up.
A real sword. Yeah. Or you could have like holodeck like service workers on the train, I guess.
Oh, okay. So that changes everything. So the stewards are perhaps virtual people. I think everybody gets out alive because the zombies aren't going to understand that. So you could instruct the service workers to like distract them, to put themselves in harm's way. The zombies could just try to chew on them and nothing would happen. And you could always use them to like get past, any zombies that you're, stand between you and something else.
That brings me back to my question of like how zombies know what's going on. Like,
right. In this universe, it seems specifically catered to sight and somewhat to sound, because they don't seem to smell or anything like that.
Right.
Because there's that scene where, and I have to see Korean commuter trains, how big are their luggage racks, but where everybody climbs up on the luggage racks, and so they're all like shimmying above the zombies, which you think would make a ton of noise, but the zombies, because it's dark, aren't really paying attention to them.
That was freaky. But like, if a zombie in this world sees another zombie, they go, that's a zombie, like I'm not gonna attack it.
Right.
But like,
right.
How do they know? Like, I don't know. How do they know if it's not like you're not looking directly at it? Like, they can just tell, I feel like, if you're looking at one from behind, they just go like, you probably couldn't like turn around and pretend to be a zombie and trick them,
Are you thinking that you could use the holographic technology to make yourself appear like a zombie?
Maybe, but I'm sort of wondering, or like thinking the opposite, where like maybe they could tell that a hologram person isn't a person. So maybe
they wouldn't go for that.
Yeah, maybe they wouldn't bite, but maybe it's like convincing enough. So maybe you could, send in your hologram guy to go knock them all in the head.
That's the zombie setting that I'm not sick of yet is I'm climbing on a thin thing and there's like a whole like sea of zombies like below me.
Okay. Yeah.
They use that in Resident Evil, the Anderson one.
Oh yeah.
They use that in this. I think it's Resident Evil 6 subverts that because they have Leon and his partner like are under a glass thing that has like 1,000 zombies on top of it. And so if the glass breaks, all the zombies will fall onto them, and so they've got to get out of the way. Yeah.
That's scary. Yeah.
Zombies above and below you don't want.
They even have it in this a little bit where it's like just like them behind the glass is pretty freaky. Or like even when you're outside and you see them in the train, just pushed up against the glass, you're like, ah.
Yeah. They're just doing scenes with like zombie extras.
That was probably fun to do, right?
Yeah. So we're still on a train. Yeah. Maybe they wouldn't go for the holograms because they're just not tactile enough.
Who knows?
But then you could still use the holograms to like send messages to people in other cars because the hologram could just walk through a car full of zombies, whether or not they care.
You could explore all these things where it's like you could establish whether they could go for a hologram guy or whether you could hologram yourself to be a zombie. I think all that would be worth trying in a movie.
Yeah. There's also a question of like, when the technology fails, at the wrong time or at the last second, like it always has to in these films.
Oh yeah, so where it's like you're starting to fade and you're like, oh no.
You're all kitted up like a zombie, but yeah, you're starting to turn back into a normal person.
I feel like that's happened in plenty of movies where like they pretend to be zombies. Can't remember the last movie I saw where that happens, but I've definitely seen that before in a movie.
I think they do it in the first season of Walking Dead, but then they never do it again. They come up with this thing where they cover themselves in zombie guts, and it works. And it's like, 9 more seasons, you guys never did this? Like, one more time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do that in the video game, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's definitely one. There's got to be more too, but I feel like why not? Yeah, why not go for that?
What if you were? Yeah, what is it like? Is it just behavior? What if you were like the best mime, like physical actor ever, and you could survive just by copying the herky jerky movements? You know,
right? Yeah.
What if you had played a zombie extra in a zombie movie, and when the real apocalypse came, you drew on your acting skills to blend in with the zombies. The role of a lifetime.
Sounds like a great meta zombie movie.
Role of a death time. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, this won't be too difficult, I guess, but let's move on to the world of Enterprise and take holodecks out of Enterprise.
Oh, they hadn't gotten there yet.
You always get screwed on Enterprise technologies. What would be their equivalent of holodecks, I guess?
Their movie night. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm just
they
thinking
are
of entertainment, you know?
Yeah, no movie night. That's true.
Because, yeah, you know, that's weird because, like, I'm thinking of that short trek again with Funny Face, and, like, I'm wondering if, because that takes place after Enterprise, I guess, but, like, the way that movie, you watch that movie, Funny Face, and that is really weird, where it's like a diorama. You know what I mean? Like, they had, like...
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
wonder what, like... I want to, like, see movie night on Enterprise and see what that's like.
Yeah, I don't know if Enterprise would be quite that like that, but I feel, I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention, but, like, I feel like when they show them watching the movie, it is kind of multi-layered. You know, it is like a projection, like a holographic type projection.
That's kind of cool, like, built-in 3D.
I guess this would also, maybe this would apply to, in this era, would apply to any of their displays. So all of their instrumentation and their communications would be more like the original series Enterprise, just buttons and lights and knobs and stuff like that. There would be no visual interface. Yeah. So when they're working on the thing, you know, and they're like, okay, we got to reprogram the communications thing so we can contact Enterprise. Like, that would have to be all like levers and sticks and wheels and stuff like that.
That might be kind of cool, like old-timey machinery.
Yeah.
On a steampunk spaceship.
All right, twist this and put that caliper up there.
Not fully steampunk, but, like, I feel like that's kind of like the aesthetic I always get from them is, like, they're trying to, like, portray a ship that would be, like, transitional in between, like, what we think of now as, like, a spaceship and, like, you know, the, like, future sci-fi, where it feels kind of, like, tactile and, like, not fancy, you know what I mean? Like, everything kind of looks like what you would imagine, like, I don't know, like being on a submarine or something looks like. It's kind of it's kind of boring in some ways, but I guess it's kind of interesting too.
There must have been discussions about that when Enterprise was being developed, because this is, I know that there are other Earth ships, there's even other Earth warp ships, but this is the first, you know, free-ranging cruiser that we think of as being a Starfleet ship. And there's no seatbelts. The bridge is huge. You know, there's different stations for every department. I mean, it's essentially the example of what we think of as a Starfleet bridge. So there never was a time, it appears, when they were like, well, should it seem more cramped like a submarine? Should they be belted in? Should they, you know, have this more vessel type feel to it? You know, it's always just, no, we just want the audience to recognize that it's, you know, it's a Star Trek.
Yeah, totally. I have a question. When do they stop do they still watch movies by the time we get to, like, next gen? Like, no one really references movies anymore.
No, they don't. They don't even watch movies in the original series, as far as I remember.
But we know they have movies on Discovery, so, like, movies are happening. I guess what I'm thinking of is, like,
I guess movies just they just survive. Kirk doesn't like movies, I guess, so nobody gets to watch movies. Because
they in the neutral zone in TNG, they say, like, television didn't last as an art form. And I wondered, was, like, is that a commentary? Is, like, television kind of looked down as more of, like, a lower form of art? And, like, movies lasted a little longer, but, like, by the time we get to holodecks, like, we're not doing either, because you can just be in a movie.
Well, holodecks would certainly complicate that. You have to remember that the holodeck was kind of a new thing, at least in Encounter at Farpoint. Everybody's really blown away by what the holodeck can do. And then almost immediately, and I'm not down. It's a great idea. It should be propagated. And plus, you think about it like this is a civilization that can travel and also communicate at above the speed of light. So once you come up with a cool idea, everybody's going to have a super toy, by the end of the summer, right? But they are all surprised at how good it is, like the first time they see it.
Oh, true. So I wonder what they were doing between.
Yeah, well, and now in Discovery we see that they have like advanced holography. So I'm not sure what the difference between that and the Enterprise D's holodeck is. Maybe just the tactile aspect of it or the immersion. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I don't think that means that that filmed or viewed entertainment goes anywhere. Gene Roddenberry had a very tumultuous relationship with his TV overlords, and he tended to take it out on them in his programming. So I have to imagine that the crack about TV not surviving being connected to that. There's the episode of TOS Bread and Circuses where they go to the Roman gladiator planet and they're filming all the death fights and everything, and it's all about TV being a blood sport and a cutthroat industry.
Yeah.
So I think that that's probably what's there. But it also, knowing the sort of effete tastes of the Enterprise crew, I'm not surprised that they would prefer cinema over television.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like I'm wondering if there's like some like a crew of dummies somewhere that's just like
well, that's Tom Paris.
yeah, what is Tom Paris? He's like, I love Friends or something.
Yeah, he he loves TV. Nobody seems all that weirded out like by him watching TV. I mean, they don't do it. They're not into it, but they're not like, I don't understand. They used to watch this 22-minute programs with people laughing off screen.
Oh, does Tom Paris watch
I think
TV?
they get it. Oh yeah, he watches TV on Voyager.
What's he watch?
B'Elanna replicates him a TV set.
Oh yeah, he has his own like spin-off little mini episodes about that, right?
Well, there's an episode where she just makes him a TV, and then they always dig it. I found this in the memory banks. Why are there like cartoons in the memory banks? Like, how much junk data is in every Federation starship? But
give me Heathcliff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So she gets him like cartoons and like old, whatever Paramount Untouchables episodes or whatever that he can watch.
Okay, I take it back. I always
so you predicted it and it already exists.
I always think way too hard about that TV line, but it always sticks with me. Like, I always have various interpretations of it, and I just can't stop thinking about it. Like, what's up with TV? And I think it's more of a throwaway line than I understand,
I want to know if country music survived into the 24th century.
Oh, because country music is always dying and like struggling to adapt, so like I wonder, like there's got to be like space country that like whoever liked, like there's probably 23rd century country that like everyone who likes 22nd century country thinks sucks, and it's like...
right, yeah.
I don't know.
Lil Nas, Planet X. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, should we tell people what's coming up on the next episode of Backtrekking?
Yes. So we're gonna be watching First Contact, the episode of TNG, not the movie.
Yes.
And it's a little alien invasion tale. So we're going to be watching that with a classic alien invasion tale, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yes.
The original.
Yeah, although I might sneak a peek at the Keanu Reeves
I would not
one.
turn down an opportunity to watch a Keanu Reeves movie. So,
yeah, one of the classic sci-fi movies of all time. And I feel like I say that a lot, but we just watch good movies on this show. I don't know. I guess I've just always taken for granted that it is, one of the most important sci-fi movies ever. But this time around, I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be trying to... That's my personal mission, to figure out why this is one of the most remembered films of all time in the sci-fi genre.
Yeah, it'll be hard for me to just think about the context of, like, what else was going on, Because I know other movies from the similar time period, but, like... I just don't often think about how they relate, like from that era, you know. It's a little before the time I really think about this happened and this happened. You know, I'm just like, oh, that's old. Yeah, like I'm kind of I'm like accidentally dismissive, you know.
Yeah, but you know, we have to remember our roots.
Of course, yeah.
Where a lot of the tropes and things that we enjoy now came from, and I think that this is definitely tied into that. But we will talk about that on our next episode. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. And if you like what you hear, you can catch more of us on social media at Backtrekking on Twitter. Also, if you like the show, tell a friend and tell us what you think we should look at in future episodes. Gooey, tell the people where they can find you online.
You can find me. I'm on Twitter at GooeyFame.
And I'm at K-A-1-I-B-A-N on Twitter. And you can find all the shows on the Just Enough Trope Network at Just Enough Trope on Twitter. And that's it for us for this week. We will see you soon. And until then, keep on trekking.